Hello, everyone. This is a historical introduction to the game Basileus. So this is the map. I'm going to talk about that first. You've got a map of the Eastern Mediterranean region. Basileus is a game about the Byzantine Empire, also known as the East Roman Empire, which was the continuation of the Roman Empire after the western half fell to the barbarians in the 400s AD. So the game begins in 565 AD, right after the, or 568 AD, right after the few years after the death of the Emperor Justinian, who um, led a reconquest of certain areas of the empire, such as Italy and North Africa. But this game is a geopolitical game that involves politics and war in the East Roman Empire. It's a three-player game, and the game centrally involves characters. So I'm going to talk about these characters first. There's always 9 characters on the board. You can see 6 of them have a red token called a title, and 3 of them do not. Whenever any one of these characters dies or something, then you would simply replace it by drawing a new character from the stack and putting it out there. Um, but so there's always 9, and 6 of them always have titles. One of the titles is actually the Basileus. So the Basileus is the emperor or the king. That's what the word means in Greek. It means either emperor or king. Monarch maybe would be a better translation. And so he's like the Caesar of the East Roman Empire. Here in this particular version or game, it's Romanus. It can be anybody. There are 5 other titles as well. There's the Caesar, the Comes Exhibitorum, the Magister Militum East, the Magister Militum West, and the Magister Officiorum. Those names aren't particularly important, but these titles are important to characters because it gives them, for instance, you can see it gives them glory, which can help in various ways. But there are 3 people, always going to be 3 people playing in the game Basileus, and one of those 3 players, human players, is going to control the Basileus character. And so if you control the Basileus character, you are the Basileus, and like in the rule book, if it says the Basileus does something, that means whoever controls the Basileus does something. And the other 2 characters are called the Magnate characters. The Magnates mean powerful nobles or powerful people, and so these other characters are all magnates because they're powerful noblemen. They're landowners. They serve in the army, and so the magnates typically want to depose the emperor, the Basileus, and take his place. And so if you're not the player who controls the Basileus, you're definitely going to want to control or cause some of these characters to be disloyal so that they can usurp the throne against the Basileus. We'll talk about that later, but characters can be either loyal or disloyal. There's 2 permanent characters, the eunuch and the patriarch. The eunuch cannot rebel, so that can be useful, but he's not able to rebel. Neither can the patriarch, although the patriarch can aid in rebellions. But the patriarch is a religious leader. The eunuch helps as a senior administrator in the palace. Emperors liked eunuchs because nobody would trust a eunuch to become emperor, so they could not rebel. They couldn't start a dynasty, and frankly, people thought eunuchs were kind of weird because they couldn't reproduce and they didn't have normal genitalia. But so these 2 characters are permanent. They represent positions. All right, let's take a look at the map. This is Constantinople. It's actually not named, but it's represented by the Hagia Sophia icon here. It's the capital of the empire. This token represents the Basileus. So wherever this token goes, whatever space it's in, that's where the Basileus is. It can move around the map. Um, uh, Obviously, each of these areas inside these dark uh, black, dark brown borders is called a province. This is the province of Serdica, Nisus, etc. These tokens represent armies. So you have purple is Byzantine. You also have other armies as well, which we will talk about in a while. Um, there's always at least 2 armies. There's the Western Army, which has a W on it, and there's the Eastern Army, which has an E on it. So And then there can be a third army, which is currently off the map. It's labeled third over here. Um, these boxes tell you how many units are in each army. You can have up to 4 units in an army. So you can see the Eastern Army is at full strength, the Western Army is not at full strength, and the Third Army is not on the board at this point in this moment. So um, that's what you have there. Around the edges of the map, you have what are called nations. Now, obviously, Byzantium is also a nation, but the word nations in this game refers to the non-Byzantine, the non-Roman nations. So you can see here the dark purple is the Persian Empire. Um, this kind of brown red is the Turkic Khaganate. We also have the Avar Khaganate, and we have the Lombard Kingdom. So in this period, the game starts in 568 AD. It's 3 years after the death of the Emperor Justinian, who oversaw the reconquest of some territories of the Byzantine Empire. The empire is the dominant political figure in its area. The only other kingdom or empire that can rival it is the Persian Empire, which is these dark purple areas, and then also anything further, some places further east over here on the eastern side of the map. By the way, I should note that any province that doesn't have any icon in it, or sorry, any control marker in it, is a Byzantine province. So, Ephesus right here is a Byzantine province. Tarsus is a Byzantine province. Paphlagonia is a bit, everything that doesn't have a nation's control marker in it is assumed to be controlled by Byzantium. You can see on the map these gray areas are mountains, so you can't cross between a gray area. Um, and then the dark brown dots or the orange dots there, they represent difficult terrain, so it's harder to cross difficult terrain. All right, so what about the nations? You can see here the nations have 3 different statuses. They can be hostile, they can be tribute taking, or they can be an ally. So these 3 statuses represent how they feel about the Byzantine Empire. If they're hostile, they can attack the Byzantine Empire. If they're tribute taking or an ally, they cannot attack the Byzantine Empire. Tribute taking means you're paying them tribute, and you're also paying them tribute if they're your ally. They don't ally with you for nothing. You have to kind of pay them. Um, but if you pay them money, sometimes they will leave you alone or even be your ally. So if they're tribute taking, they cannot attack the Byzantine Empire. Moreover, this token here has 2 different sides, active and inactive. An active nation is able and willing to have its armies activated. So here's well, this is the wrong color, but these are the Persian armies right here. I need to change that color. But if the Persian Empire, for instance, is activated, then it's ready to go. It's ready to have its armies activated. If it's inactive, then it is not. It's assumed the Persian Empire is assumed to be busy with some other issue that it's trying to deal with, and so is not able to be activated. And so these markers can change. Different actions that the Basileus takes can change those markers. Up here at the top, we have the victory point track. The three players are green, black, and white, um, and so these can match the victory points, and you win as soon as you get to 35. Although in our version of the game, we're also going to time out, but so we might time out probably before anyone gets there. You also down here have the Berber tribes as well, another nation. Okay, so that's the map. Uh, you can see, again, the Persian armies were the wrong color, but you can see the Lombards have an army up here. The Avars have an army up here. And so the Byzantine Empire is going to interact with these other nations, as well as interacting. There's going to be interactions between the Basileus and the other magnate characters in the game. Okay, so what about these 2 bags right here? So in this bag, it's called the Rebellion bag, and uh, it's got things called Rebellion cubes in them. Now, there's 2 colors of Rebellion cubes. There's black and purple. The purple ones block a rebellion. The black ones allow a rebellion. So when you take a rebellion action, you typically draw a certain number of cubes out of the bag, and if a certain number of them are particular color, then the rebellion is successful. If a certain number of them are black, the rebellion is successful. If not enough of them are black, then the rebellion is unsuccessful. So that's going to be determined by um, the cubes in the rebellion bag. This bag has what are called disloyalty tokens. So disloyalty tokens have a number on them, ranging from 0 to 3. And these tokens are placed on characters. So you will get them on characters. Uh, in the real game, they're not going to have a back that looks like that. They're going to have a different back that hides the number. And so these are placed on characters and they determine whether a character is loyal or disloyal. A character is loyal unless it has 3 or more valued disloyalty tokens. So you can see here focus has 2, a 2 and a 0. If we draw another one, that's a 1. They should be stackable, but that would be 3. And so focus would be disloyal if you have 3 or more. And so those tokens are going to get put onto characters during the game to kind of mark how loyal they are. And in the physical version of the game, they're placed face down, so the Basileus player doesn't know who's disloyal and who isn't. The other 2 players can look at those tokens anytime they want to. The Basileus cannot. He's not allowed to know he knows who has tokens, but he doesn't know what the value of those tokens is. And again, some of the tokens have 0 value. Um, Down here, this is the power chart. So the power represents basically how much control the Basileus has over his government. And that's a combination of 2 factors. One is his ability. So the ability rating is on each character's chart. So let's go over here. It's this crown icon. The crown icon on the bottom right of a character's card is his ability. So Nicephorus has 2, Michael has 3, uh, Leo has 2. So that basically represents how good they are at governing the empire. The other number you see on here, this is kind of moving out of order, but that the axe and the sword crossed together, that is their command rating. So that's how good they are at fighting with armies. So that comes into play only during battles. But you look here at the ability. So let's say the Basileus has an ability of 3, and this is called the consolidation track. It starts at 0, but it can go down to -2 or all the way up to +2. And so you combine these 2 numbers together to get power. So right now the power would be 3. Let's say you consolidate it a little bit, then your power would be 4. Let's say you get a new Basileus who has an ability of 4, then this is all of a sudden going up to 5. Right, so you just add these 2 numbers together to get the power. Now the power is the only one that really matters for the game. Power is a resource that can be spent to do various things. Um, but basically it represents how powerful the government is and how much control the Basileus has over the government. Is he ruling in his own name or is he not? Okay, so here is the popularity chart. And this records the popularity of the Basileus with 4 different classes. You can see we've got magnates, that represents the powerful, the kind of aristocrats, the people who run the government and who command the armies. These are educated, wealthy people. You've got the common people who are basically everyone else. It could include merchants and blacksmiths and farmers, but basically just the ordinary people who don't have a lot of political power. The Orthodox Church, which is kind of the basis of today's like Eastern Orthodox Church, if you've heard of like the Greek Orthodox Church, the Russian Orthodox Church, they were fairly powerful. And then the military. These are the 4 kind of main power centers in Byzantium that you need to worry about. And so each of them has a popularity number that indicates uh, much how much favor it has towards the Basileus. Higher is better. So if it's up at 7, that means that class really, really likes the current Basileus. Really a huge fan of him. If it's down at 1, it's they hate the Basileus. So I mean, 4 is kind of neutral, but anything below 4 would be negative. Anything kind of up there would be positive. And so whenever any rule or card says like people plus 1, that means you move this up 1 that way. If it says people -1, you move it that way. If it says church plus 1, you move it that way. If it says church -2, you move it that way. I'm not sure if any of them say -2, but military -1, you move it down. So it can go down to 1. It can't go below 1. If it's at 1 and you have to move it left, you can't do that. It can't go beyond 7 either. It's kind of got to stay there. So that's the popularity chart. And popularity will be important because the more popular the Basileus is, the more difficult it is to rebel against him. In fact, it's very difficult if he's popular. Only if the Basileus is unpopular does it become a viable strategy to try to unseat the Basileus. Okay, so just real quick, these areas with these kind of black discs or whatever they are, these are Arabian controlled, and you cannot go there. No one can go there. So in this version of the game, no one can go there. And let's see, we have 3 decks of cards. We have an event deck, which has events on them that you're going to draw 2 of those every turn. We have, uh, and then we have 2 separate decks of strategy cards. The black one is for the magnates. Magnates will draw these cards into their hand and use them to take actions. And then this purple one is for uh, the Basileus, for the ruler. So he has his own separate deck of cards that kind of do different things. And so these cards are going to be a major way that stuff takes place in the game. You're going to take actions with those cards. That's going to be a major way to do things in the game. And then the last thing here I think that we need to talk about is the revenue chart. So you can see here, um, this all of these numbers here in the kind of at the bottom of the screen is the revenue chart. And so um, these represent how much taxation you're getting. So uh, the big box, with the bigger number represents kind of how much taxation you're getting. And then there's 2 smaller numbers on the top of every box. There's one on the left and there's a dash, and there's one on the right. So those numbers are going to be important for um, determining revenue and determining how much money you get every turn. But I will explain that in a later video.